Okay, guys, so as usual, we will wait for your friends for 15 minutes. We will start our class around 2:20. Okay? Okay, guys, so today we're going to have our chapter 5, okay, and then chapter 6. After that, my plan was for you to have your test. Guys, those who in online, do you hear me? Those in online?
Yes, Miss.
So my plan was to give you test after we finish chapter 6. My plan lah, okay? So I hope you can start to get prepared for everything. My test usually is very easy. My test lah, in my own terms, is easy. I don't know how about you. If you study, you are not playing games, everything going to be easy. Okay? So, today's you not only learn about object-oriented, but we need to relate it back towards the analysis and design. How many of you already learned about SAD, software analysis and design, or system analysis and design subject, or software engineering subject? Can you raise your hand? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, so there is no issue if I ask you to draw activity diagram, class diagram, sequence diagram, use case diagram. What else? We have a lot more, right? So later you need to design it for the object-oriented code. Okay, so let's get started. So this one, you will learn about object-oriented analysis and design, where we'll combine about our object-oriented along with the analysis and design, where it will focus on the modeling techniques using your UML diagrams, okay? So UML stands for Unified Modeling Language. When we talk about modeling, it is going towards the representation or illustration or diagrams, okay? So you as a student will learn how to identify, describe, and design your system based on the real world objects, encapsulate their behaviors and their relationship before you go for the coding parts. So what will you learn? You are able to explain the concept and importance of your OOAD in software engineering. You are able to identify the model, classes, attributes, methods, and also relationship. You're able to construct your UML diagrams, okay? Where in this subject, we only focus on 4. Okay, if you want to learn more, you need to focus during your software engineering class or your system analysis and design classes. Okay, and then you are able to analyze your system requirement using OOP principles. Do you remember what is your OOP principles? How many OOP principles that you have learned? 15? Are you serious? 15? How much? 17? 20? 1000? How many? Object-oriented principle. If you cannot answer me, it means that you are not studying, you are not focused during my class. We have 4. What are they? Encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance. So what are the acronym of these 4 things? Co, in, dip. Okay? Next, you need to apply your UML modeling to design and implement in small scale system, and you also will learn how does this OOP being implemented in large system. Okay, small system is just a small program that you did for your assignment, you did for your final year project. But when we talk about large scale system, later you will explore about it. Okay, so next, what is OOAD? It is a systematic approach of analyzing and designing your system using OO concept. Okay, so the step must include you need to identify your system requirements, perform your object analysis, and then you model it using your UML diagrams, and only then you design the architecture. Once you have your design, your architecture, you can implement them and test. Okay? So, we separate the OOAD into two parts, OOA and OOD. So, OOA is stand for Object-Oriented Analysis, which at this phase, you need to understand and able to model your real-world problem using objects. For example, currently you're in a class, right? So in a class, you have objects. For example, what are the objects? The humans, your tables, your chair, your bags, okay? And for each of these objects have their own attributes. What are the attributes? It can be the name, the gender, okay? And then your height, your age, okay? For chairs, you have the colors, you have type of chairs. And then for the tables, you have wooden tables, you have, what else? Metal tables, you have flip tables, for example. That would be the attribute of your object. Okay, so the focus of your OOA is actually to understand what is your system supposed to do and what they must do. Okay, so once you know what your system must do, it's actually producing something that is about your system structure, how was your use case, and how was the data flow. Okay, so when you perform all of this, when you understand all of this, you're able to produce all of this output. That's why previously I keep on asking you in your tutorials, you have to extract IPO. Beside IPO, I want you to know the purpose. What is the system actually need to be done? Okay, so for example, the system is asking you to calculate BMI. So what is the purpose of the system? What is the purpose of the system when they ask you to calculate BMI? It's about body weight management. Why? They want user to know the BMI of themselves. So what will be the input of the BMI system? Height, weight, right? If you go more complex, it will go for your gender, your age. Okay, and then what will be the process? The BMI calculation. Okay, and then what will be the output? BMI result with the categories, right? You have obese, you have underweight, you have normal weight. What else? Okay, so that is how you perform an analysis. Once you have your analysis, only then you start to do your design, object-oriented design, which will show you how does your system will work based on your analysis model just now, okay? Based on your IPO, you can design your system. Okay, so here where you implementation about the decision, it can be your methods, it can be your relationship, it can be your visibility. So it will produce something that is suitable for you to become reference before you perform the coding part. Okay, at this part is actually helping you to design your what? Oh, your what? When we talk about design, what does it produce? We produce a fish from a design, is it? Huh? Or we produce a house from a design. We produce a diagram. What is the use of the diagram? To illustrate what will happen. How does my product will looks like, for example. Using what process? What activity that we'll have. Okay? So, next. here comes your UML diagram. Okay, so UML diagram is a standardized visual language. When we talk about visual, it is response to your diagram, your illustration. Okay, for what? For describe, to specify your and document your object-oriented system. Why? Because we need to show the relationship between the conceptual thinking and also your coding. Because what you think somehow the developer don't understand. So you need to draft them on the paper, design first. Oh, actually, I want it to be this way. Okay, if you don't have this kind of diagram, can you portray what you are actually want to tell to the developer, what you're trying to do for your system? No, right? So that is the purpose. So you have to understand that we have three types of UML diagram. Three types of UML diagram. But each of the UML diagram will have their own subtype or subcategory. Okay, when we talk about structural, it's already in sequence. When we talk about behavioral, it is more focused on the methods, the function, what will be done. When we talk about interaction, it is actually a sub or the combination between structural and behavioral. That's why we have interaction. You know what is interaction? You don't know? Oh my God. Okay. So, the key of the UML diagram. So, each of your UML diagram have their own standard key or notation symbols that being used. For what? They are standardized elements. For what? There is standardized all of the key annotation. Why? Why they need to standardize them? Because they want to represent an element. Different element will have different representations so that everyone would know. If process, we should use a rectangle. If start, we should use oval. So everybody know already because it is standardized. What happens if your notation or your symbols are not standardized? Will everyone understand? No. It will become a miscommunication because different people have different perspective. For example, I said, Jia En said, I love to use a flower shape to represent process. But Zikuan said, I prefer to use star for a process. Then, how about others people? Maybe they think the flower is for blooming, while for the star is for shining. Does it represent a process? No. Okay? So, the other name of UML keys, we know it as the legend or notation guide, where it is essential for the students, for the developers, for the other peoples to interpret your diagram correctly. If you interpret the diagram incorrectly, does your system that being produced is correct? No. Okay, so what is the benefit for you to create UML diagram? It's actually help you to develop, analyze, interpret your diagram consistently and also accurately. For example, in your diagram, you are illustrating login activity. For example, you insert your username, you insert your password, and then check password and username correct or not. Only you can log in. But if the diagram is inconsistent with what you did for the analysis, for example, you say, oh, I want to try my login. So maybe you just try to log in. How we try to log in? You open login page, automatic they display the user page for you. Is it normal? Not normal. After you display your user page, then only people ask you to enter your username and password. Does it relevant? Okay, at this phase, you do that way. If out of sudden, for the next one for admin page, they display the login first. only they display, if correct, only they display the admin page. Does this consistent with the user page? Not consistent, right? So that's why when you have illustration, it will help you better. Okay? So this is the subcategories for each of the UML diagram types. But the one that I put a bullet short is the one that we will cover today. Okay, for interaction diagram, we will cover about sequence. Behavioral, we will cover two use case and also your activity diagram. Structural is your class diagram. How many of you have learned all of these four that I have highlighted here? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Nobody learns. Baba Tirun? Baba Tirun is not in the call, does not respond to me. Only 2 people out of 10 people that have learned about system analysis and design and also your software engineering. Only 2 people know about this 4 diagram. Okay. Thank you. It's from who? Nikki and also Edison. Okay. So, now, why do we need to have UML in object-oriented? What is the reason? The first one is about visualization. To convert your textual requirements into an easy to be understand diagram. Because some people, when you read, you get confused. But when you convert them into a diagram, a drawings, it will be easy for you to understand. Okay? Specification, they will define much more details, much more precise about the behaviors, about the relationship before you go in depth for the implementation. Okay? After that, for constructions, they will provide a roadmap for writing actual codes. They will guide you properly so you can see your codes correct or not. Okay? So actually, when you have all of these diagram well structured, is actually you already done of half of your code actually. Okay? When you already have your diagram, especially your class diagram, it actually helps you half of the code already. Okay? Documentation, they serve as a long-term reference for maintenance and updates. And for communication, they will ensure the developer, tester, and client share the same understanding. It means that what the developer and client understand must be the same. What does the developer, but what, how does the tester test? Okay, how was the client want? The developer and the tester must be able to know. Or this is the things that the client wants. It's not that the client say A, developer develop B, but the tester testing C. Okay, that will be a big chaos. You will have a delays. You will cost a lot of money. Okay, you have to remember, when you cause a chaos towards the development, money is everything because people would stay not for long. They will come and go. And some people might get bored due to the long-term project that is keep on repeating the same mistake. Okay? Next. So, this is the differences between behavioral and interaction diagram. Okay, so if you look at here, based on the definition, which definition refer to structural diagram? Based on the definition itself. Who said column A is for behavioral? Raise your hand. Column A, beside definition, is for behavioral. Raise your hand. Column E is saying that static aspect, what shall exist? Where they just focus on the structure of your system. They define what will be the classes, what will be the components, what will be the object that will be exist along with their relationship. So does this means your behavioral diagram? Who said yes? Raise your hand. In the sentences already give you the hint, a lot of hint. We got 3, 4. So the answer is wrong. Why? Because when we talk about behavioral, it is dynamic, can be changed. When we talk about static, it must be structured. Static cannot be changed anymore. So that's why when we talk about structural, it is a static, cannot be changed. When it is involved behavioral, it is dynamic, flexible. You can change it anytime. Okay? And then when we talk about interaction, you have to involve the structural and behavioral. Okay? So that's why when you look at here, dynamic behaviors, it confirms about your behavioral diagram. But when we talk about communication and timing of messages between your object, it talks about your interaction. Because when you interact, you need to communicate. You have your own timing for your message to be processed, right? So that's why we talk about communication and timing. Okay? So next, when we talk about key question, I don't really understand what does Miss say about structural behavior and also called interaction. So this key question is actually to let you understand more, which is when people ask you, what does the system have? So you already understand, when we talk about what system have, it is already a static thing, static features. It considered about your structural diagram. Then when people ask you, how does your system behave? Actually they are referring about the behavioral diagram. That is the thing. So we should mention about the activity diagram. What if they said, who talks to whom and when? So this one refer to who? Interaction diagram. Okay, so I hope you can see these 3 things, their difference. Okay, next time if I ask you which diagram that is having dynamic thingy, so which one? What will be your answer? Behavioral. Okay, so as you can see, you will get your code output for each of the diagram. Okay, when we talk about structural, you're going to have your class and package structure. That's why you have your class diagram. When we talk about behavioral diagram, you need to model the behavior and the process flow. That's why you have your activity diagram, right? And then you have your interaction diagram, which is the detailed scenario design or method logic. So when we have much more detailed thingy, what do we have? We have our sequence diagram. It means that each of the activities you already know from this actor. Next, what they will do based on what activities. Okay? What will be the object? What will be the attributes? What will be the solution? They will mention in sequence. That's why it is interaction between one module with another module and also another actors. Okay? So, before we going further, let's go into the use case diagram. The first diagram that I want you to understand. Okay? When we talk about use case diagram, you use your cases to illustrate a diagram. Okay? When we use a use case, when you use a cases to illustrate a diagram, you need to focus more on the user and how does your system behave in you going to have your system boundary. Okay? So the representation, you need to have a stickman, which known as actor. You need to have an oval to show your use case. And you need to have a big rectangle boxes to show the system boundary, where you need to capture all of the use case inside your system boundary. Okay? And then when you want to use it, when you want to gather all the functional requirements for the sake of your stakeholder discussion. Okay? So let's see. We have steps for us to create a use case diagram. Okay, so first we need to identify the actor. So this actor, does it the same actor in your C drama, K drama, J drama? Is it the same thing? Somebody asking, what is J drama, C drama, K drama? What is it? Anybody know? It's your Chinese drama lah, your Korean drama lah, your Japan drama lah, or your Japan animation lah. Does it meaning the same thing? Confident it is no. So, your use case diagram is involve all of these three things, but the actor is not illustrate like this. Okay? The actor is not illustrated like this. You are not allowed to make my stickman like this. This is not the stickman looks like. Okay? A normal stickman is only a round circle on the head and also a big word in Chinese for the body. I know you are very intense in your competition of gaming, but do please focus because all of this information needs to be implemented inside your report. Okay? So, the big rectangles. So, for the actors, you need to identify. Why? Because they would be the users or external system that will interact with your own system. And then you need to identify the use cases, what your actor need to do. For example, log in, borrow books, eating, what else? Buffing, bluffing, gaming, what else? Sleeping. Join the class and then you play the game, for example. And then you need to draw a system boundary while using a rectangle where you need to label the system name. And inside your rectangle, you will have an oval. Actor would be stay outside. How does it look like, miss? Later I will show you a sample. Okay? So, you need to connect your actors to the use case. Why? Because you want to show this actor is actually performing this activity. For example, system admin is one actor, right? User as one actor, right? So does this system admin for library management can borrow books? The activity can be performed as borrow books. Did the admin borrow books in the library management system? Admin borrow books? No. Does the user borrow books? Yes. So you need to link the stickman of the user with the oval one, which inside it mentioned about borrow books. Okay. So how do we link them together? We're using an arrow, a solid line for interaction. Okay. And then on top of the arrow, you need to mention either it is extend or include. Because these two things is actually important to distinguish which one is mandatory, which one is just an additional action. Why do I say that? Anyone have the answer? And then we're going to have inheritance also inside this. Okay? Validate each of your use case represent a complete goal. It means a complete objective. It's not a complete UI. And usually this one is not for you to put inside your UI screen, but it will be the activities. Activities you need to create in your UI screen. Activities, maybe it become your buttons or it can be your navigation, we don't know. But it would be the action need to be done by the users. Okay. So this is how does your stickman looks like. It is not the one that you saw in front. The one that is dancing. The one that is act in your dramas, in your animation. Okay, so as you can see, this is your actors and this is your big box rectangle with a label name. Library management system. So inside them, you're going to have a lot of the activities. For example, log in, pay fine, borrow books, manage members, manage users. Okay, so all of this is actually what they have to do for each of the users. Okay, so first class activity, I want you to do it now by individual. Later, I will choose 5 lucky people to share me your answer. Okay? So, start to do it now. At 3, I will call out your name. Okay, how you illustrate? You can go to Draw.io. Do you know what is Draw.io? Yes, it is a digital drawing tools where you can type draw.io. So this one can be downloaded, used offline and also online. And this Draw.io also will be able to collaborate with your friends. Okay? So you need to draw inside here. Okay? So you can choose here, you have your ML diagram. You can scroll down and see. Is there any stickman here or not? Okay? So try to do it and I want to see your answer. Choose one scenario, guys. I know it is simple for you for both scenario, but choose only one. Okay, so let's start. I would choose Tanja Xun. Tanja Xun. Tanja Xun twice.
Yes, miss.
Show me your answer.
How do I do I share screen?
Yeah, you can share your screen. Or you want to share in the message also can. So before you show me your answer, right? So you choosing which of the scenario? The scenario 1 or scenario 2?
Scenario 2.
Scenario 2. Why it is so easy, is it?
Yeah.
Oh. What is your answer? Chat.
In the chat.
It's wrong already. Why it is wrong? Anyone? Can you tell me why is it wrong? Okay. Jashin, you look here. What did I say about the use cases or what the actor need to use, need to finish? So what will be the what will be the symbol being used? Read number 2. Identify use case or your goals. You should need to use oval. Draw the system boundary. Use case is oval. This one. Right? Okay? Are you clear?
Okay, okay.
Okay, you see you're wrong already, okay? So the next lucky person is Torrance. Torrance. Torrance, are you here? Oh, okay. Okay, Torrance, your one have a slight mistake. Why? Because ordering serving system, you should not put the boundaries there. You only just write simple names, ordering service only. No need to put the one that you have now. Can you see? The shape, no need put the shape for the system name labeling.
Hello? Hear me?
Ah, ah,
Yeah, okay.
okay?
All right.
All right. So, as you can see, how many of you get use all of the symbol correctly? Huh. Okay, so now I want to choose Nikki. What are the benefits for you to create your UC? What is the benefit? Nikki, are you here? I can't hear you, Nikki. It's okay, just paste your answer here. Oh, understand better. Okay. It is actually to let you know who will involve with your system and what those people will do with the system. Okay. So you can see in a clearer mode. Okay. So next, we will go for the activity diagram. So activity diagram is to show how was the control flow and how was your workflow. So we are using arrows, rounded activity nodes, diamond, and also fork or join. When we want to use it, when we want to show an algorithms, the concept flow, and also the business process modeling. So how does it being constructed? So this is the way. Okay. So for example, you need to identify a process. Okay, just now you have a lots of activity, right? So you need to choose one activities and identify what are the process involved in activity. For example, here, we want to show about activity borrow book. So what will be the process inside borrow books? So you're going to have your start and end as a nodes, where the start you use a dot and your end you use as a bullseye. You know what is a bullseye? A big circle, inside you have a circle that is being colored as black. And then you're going to list all the major actions. For example, select book, check the availability, you borrow your book, you update your records. Okay, and then you're going to have the decision notes, which you use a diamond with guard condition. Either it is available or not available. After you have your decision note, you're going to have your arrow, where this arrow will connect between your action and also your decision. Okay, so just now I talked about fork and join. So this fork and join usually will be used if there is parallel action, which is multiple action at the same time. Okay, optionally you can add a swim lanes for the rows. You know what is swim lane? Have you looked at the pool that the swimmers always swim one? How does the pool looks like? I know there is water inside. I know. So the swim lane is look like this. You separate between the admin and also the system. Okay. So the one that I mentioned, you have start, the black colored one. And then you have bullseye. This is your bullseye. Okay, you have your processes. You have your decision. You have your arrows. Okay, where you need to show what would be the activity, the processes. Okay, so this is what we said as activity. We choose a specific activities to show the process. Beside borrow book, what else the activity you can do inside library management? Renew. So renew will have their own process, right? So it's the same thing. Okay. So next. So based on answer in just now, now you need to create at least 3 activity diagrams that relate to it. And then you tell me what are the benefits of your AD. Just now you choose, for example, you choose the ATM. Inside the ATM, you have few action, right? You have edit, withdraw, you have what else? Deposit. So if you want to deposit money, what would be the process you need to do? So you have to illustrate them. Okay. So if you look at the sample here, you will see the admin is your actors. What will be the actors do for the first step? and then which system that will be involved, and which activity or the processes will be done in the system. Which of the activity will be done by the user itself. Okay, so now do it. I give you around 5 minutes to do it. Okay, guys, so let's share your answer. Tan Kan Yi. Tan Kan Yi,
Miss here, miss.
can you show me your answer? Screenshot and put it inside the group.
Can I just share my
meeting
screen?
chat. Huh?
Can I just share my screen?
Screenshot your answer.
Can I just share screen? Because I haven't finished yet.
You haven't finished. So you want to share your screen? Just share your
Okay.
answer je lah. It's okay.
Okay. I send in chat.
So you have to do a separation between them, okay? So you need to show the differences in admin and the system. And then you need to put the borderline between admin and also the activity will be done. Okay?
Understand?
And enter pin, once you enter pin, I think we need to, the system need to authorize, right? If the authorization is failed, so you need to use the diamond. Okay? Why we need to use diamond? Can you?
For option.
For option, why? What will be the option?
For success and denied.
Yeah, success or denied. What happened if denied? We need to re-enter the pin, right? So this is how you will need to do. Okay, so whatever you did, you need to very, very specific. Okay?
Okay.
So, thank you. Next. Next is Hai Sing. Hai Sing, what are the benefits when you do the activity diagram?
It helps to improve the understanding
Oh,
and
okay.
the communication or something.
Okay. So good. So, next is about sequence. When we talk about sequence, it reflects back to your interaction. When we talk about interaction, it will go over time. So you need to have vertical lifeline, horizontal arrows, and activation. When you want to detailing all the behaviors of one use case scenario. So, like this one. Select a scenario, specific scenario, okay, based on your use case. For example, borrow books. You need to list the objects, which is user, library system, and book. This sequence diagram already go in very specific, where you need to show what will be the action and how it interact with all of those who are involved. Okay, and then you need to add the messages. You need to create a horizontal arrow with a proper methods. Okay, you need to have the return and activation arrow. Okay, and then you need to have conditions to validate where your messages must be exist as a method inside your class diagram. Okay, this is the sample. How does your sequence diagram looks like? This is already very, very, very specific. Compared to your activity diagram, we don't have any start button and end button. We don't have any other symbols. Except for you to show what are the objects. You have your arrows to show what be the action and processes would be done. Clear enough? Okay, so now, based on your answer, create a sequence diagram. So, proceed. I give you another 5 minutes. This is the sample. Okay, so let's have Hong Chi Leong to share your answer. Hong Chi Leong. Hong Chi Leong 1. Hong Chi Leong 2. Oh, no Hong Chi Leong here, so I shall remove. It's okay, just share whatever you have. Later you can finish it. I don't think this is the correct one. Sequence diagram. The sequence diagram that I know looks like the one that I share in the screen. Chiliang? Chiliang, if you Google for sequence diagram also, they will exist like mine. You draw here is for what? The one you draw here is for what? What type of diagram is that? This one is D2D, is it? I think your one is D2D diagram. Am I right? Shiliang? Okay, it's okay. And then the next person, I want Yishan. Yishan, what are the benefits for you to create SD? Mm.
It helps to illustrate object interaction and the sequence of the system itself.
Okay, good. Okay, so next we go for the class diagram. Okay, so class diagram is a static structures and it actually, as I mentioned, it is already half of your project coding. Why? Because inside your class diagram, you already have your class name, you have your methods involved, you have your attribute that involved. So that's why I said it's already halfway done. Okay? Then each of those things will be represented inside a boxes where it was split into 3 parts: name, attributes, and operation, or we say as function or methods. And then to link one with another boxes, we use arrow. Either it is a triangle arrow or a diamond arrow. Okay? So each of the arrows represent different meaning. So based on the arrows is actually you can implement it through your codes. Either it is inherits, implements, abstractions, or whatsoever type of classes. Okay, and then your classes either they inherit or not, either they implement or not, either it is an override or either it is a single way aggregation or what. Okay, so when we need to use when we want to have an architectural design for your coding blueprint. So whatever in your code, it's supposed to be already in your class diagram. If out of sudden in your code there exists unknown method, but in your class diagram it is not exist, what will happen to your system? Something is wrong somewhere. It means that you are creating useless thing. It's not useless lah. Maybe what you did at the new function, maybe it is a redundant thing, we also don't. Okay? So, next. This is the way how you create your class diagram. When you need to identify the classes. What is classes? One boxes. No, it is not one boxes. What is it? For example, inside your college, we have a lots of rooms. So the room, we can know it as a classes. So inside your classes, you have a lots of objects. Each of your object will have their own attribute where you will have given them few information. For example, name, species, activities, what else? Age. Okay? And then you going to put your visibility. Either it is private, public, protected, or what else? We have 4 things. Public, private, protected. Another one? Type of visibility. Visibility, you can Google. Type of visibility. How to spell visibility? It is your default access. Okay? And then you're going to have your operation or your methods. You need to add the relationship as I mentioned just now. Either it is associate, aggregate, compose, generalize. And then each of them you need to put either it is one-to-one, many-to-one, okay, or many-to-many. It should like the same as your database ERD, but it is totally different. Do not get confused. If in your test they ask you to draw class diagram, please draw class diagram. Do not draw ERD. If I saw ERD in your test paper, I will direct give you 0 for illustration. Terima kasih. Okay. So next, this is how does the class diagram, single class diagram looks like. Okay. So far up until here, do you have anything else you want to ask? Do you have anything else you want to ask? So how about if we have multiple, what if we have multiple classes? So this is the sample of the multiple classes. Okay? But this one, it is not correct. Okay? So the one that is correct, how does it look like? Anyone know? Anyone know? Anyone know? Nobody know. Refer back to the slides that I have shared before. So, this is the wrong one. So, how about this? Is this the correct one? Yes. Why? Because we have our class name, our attributes along with the visibility, and then we have the proper arrow. So what does this arrow means, everybody? Inheritance. Why inheritance? Yes. Okay, so this is your class activity 4. Please do it now. Okay, since we don't have enough time, so let's rush to the next slide. Okay, so this would be the main differences between all of the 4 diagrams. Okay, the first one is use case diagram. So I think these things you can do it by yourself. We already summarized everything to ease you for your readings. Okay, and then class activity 5, please do it and submit through Teams. All of the class activity in the slide, you need to do it all. So, diagram mappings. Just now you might wonder, Miss, why do we need to learn all of those 4? How does they relate to each other? What would be the reason we need to create each of them? Okay, so this is the reason why. It is because one use case diagram, you can create a lot of sequence diagram. Okay, why do it mention so? Can anyone tell me? Why does one UC can create a lot of SD? Why? Huh? Yes, inside UC you have many functions where from the function you need to take them out one by one to show the sequences. But then in your sequence diagram reference method, you can find them inside your class diagram. Why? Because inside your sequence diagram, you have your methods, right? Where does your method located inside your class diagram? At the last component, right? The first one is your class name. The second one is your attribute. The last one is your method. So that is why it is relatable. It can be mapped. Okay, so if you wrong at one of the diagram, it means all of your diagram would be wrong. Okay, and then your activity diagram can be used to define your workflow that UC implies. What is UC? Use case. So why does they say activity diagram can be used to define the workflow inside your use case? Because the activity diagram we already specify, right? The processes. But in our use case, we have only one main activity where the main activity would be the things that you break down into processes as activity diagram. Okay, and then they mentioned about the classes inside your CD should be implement operation visible as messages in your SD. Okay, clear enough? Don't say that Miss Diana don't even explain to us why does all of this happen. Why you say, Miss, why my class diagram wrong, everything is wrong? Don't ask this kind of question towards your lecturer, as I already mentioned this in the class. You wrong one thingy, the whole code or the next diagram would be wrong also. So whatever you have in the first diagram, the second diagram, you must reconsider again. Does this correct? Does this supposed to be like this in this diagram? If not, why? If yes, why? So let's have a quick quiz. Who does what? Refer to which diagram? Confirm. What object exists and how does they relate? This one I already mentioned. What is this? What are the messages are exchanged when X is occurs? You don't have the answer, guys. Like seriously. So it is a wasting time lah for me to explain everything to you guys. I just tweaked your questions and now you cannot answer. It's okay. It is your task to find out the answer for everything. This is the class activity 7 where you also need to do it. So let's recap your OO design pattern first before we go into the other parts. So design pattern is a reusable, proven solution to a common design problem inside your software development, which will help in maintaining your consistency, scalability, and flexibility in your large system. Okay, so analogy is like this. Design pattern is your blueprint, not your final code, but it is a reusable template. Okay, reusable template. It means that, for example, a t-shirt, size M, size L, size XXL, triple XL. They are using the same sizing, but you can have different colors, you can have different pattern of your t-shirts, you can have different design of your t-shirt. Maybe your t-shirt currently don't have button, out of sudden your design can have a button, but the size it is still the same. That is we known as a template or blueprint. Okay, so there will be 3 categories: creational, structural, and behavioral. Still remember what are the patterns inside your design pattern? What are they? The subtype or the examples of design pattern. You have a lot, but I have explained this during your design pattern part. What are they? Singleton. What else? Factory. What else? Observer, facade, strategy, and etc. Okay, so actually all of these patterns, you can keep on reuse them in your large system. Okay, do you know what is large system? So large system is actually a software system that the size, the complexity, or the performance requirements exceed of what current small system do. Okay, small system easy to manage, right? But this large system is hard to manage. So you need to use a lot of reusable thingy. Okay, why? Because large system usually evolve over time. So that's why we need to use OOP to help by dividing their modules into few parts so that it is manageable and have a reusable component. Easy for you to do debugging also. Okay, so the characteristic of your large system would be multiple interaction modules. Maybe the current system, you only have 1 modules or 2 modules, you interact between them. But large system, you can have more than 10 modules working together at the same time. Okay, you need many developers. That's why we have many modules. Sometimes your developers can be 40 per team. 40 developer per team. Each of them will be in charge or doing different components. Okay, and then you need to share your resources either inside your database or your services. And then you're going to have a long life cycle and maintains your demands, evolving the requirement. For example, everybody would use it. The banking system, where banking system we have different branches, and each of the banking system also have different services, right? So beside your large system, we also have distributive system. So distributive system is actually a system that is common use inside your cloud computing. Inside cloud, that's why your object can communicate over the network instead of locally. If you don't have internet, you cannot run. Okay? So, the characteristic would be the same, but it's just that this system can be run on multiple devices at the same time, but different user lah. Okay? But for your somebody asked, is there we having class here? And then your system runs even though one of the nodes are failing. Okay? You able to add more nodes? Which lecturer? Ada nama tak kat jadual? Ada jadual tak? Kat jadual tu ada nama tak? Oh, then they have to wait lah. I need to finish it. Okay. Thank you. So, our example would be the Google Cloud, the easiest one. Okay? So, this is the architectural layers inside your OOD that you will be used inside your large system. You have your presentation layers, business logic layer, data access layer, and also infrastructure layers, where each of these will handle different responsibility and also different components. Okay, I already listed here. So this one I will continue next week. Okay. Do you have any questions? Please do remind me about this, yeah? Okay? Guys, do you have any questions? Those here online, do you have any questions? Okay, so thank you. See you when I shall see you.